With the third season of Jujutsu Kaisen coming out, this is arguably going to be its hardest season, but the reasons might not be what you think they are. Because the biggest reason why this might be the hardest season for Jujutsu Kaisen is because of the fact that everyone is after that anime. Because at this point Jujutsu Kaisen is a veteran. It's on its third season, it's been around long enough, and it's an established name. But this brings with it a lot of problems. And the first thing that is the most basic that it's gonna have to fight is the fact that people are gonna look for new anime, which is understandable. It's a third season anime, you want something new. And as such, a few names have popped up like Sentenced to be a Hero, which potentially could be an anime that takes the title of being the new boy on the block. But the thing is, it's not really looking too good for new anime. That is the best representation, and arguably speaking, it's gonna have to do a lot to unseat Jujutsu Kaisen, so that's not really a big threat. But there is another one, and that is the people. The thing is, at this point Jujutsu Kaisen has become so popular that it's actually become a thing to not like it. In fact, people just don't like the fact that a top anime is a shonen. If you don't believe me, look at the amount of hate that Demon Slayer gets, despite the fact that people say it's not that good. But yet it's good enough to justify the hate that people say. And funny enough, Jujutsu Kaisen has been getting the same allegations that it's not as complex, it's not intricate, it's not really smart in a sense. And people try to use that against it. But with Jujutsu Kaisen, it does the numbers, but the problem is that it actually does have a good level of intricacy. But the problem is people want to downplay it because if this was true, its dominance would be even more certified. And as such, the allegations that this anime isn't really that good in terms of writing has been pushed for a long time. But this was not helped when it came out later that people felt like Gege doesn't like the anime and was actually starting to ruin it by himself. This has fed into the narrative that the writing is not good enough. And as such, a lot of people who want to dethrone this anime are using that against the anime. And as such, this really popular anime, even if it does amazing numbers, will not get the love that it deserves. And you'll notice this later because people will start to say, okay, it's just a bunch of fights, but it didn't really have too much in it, which is not true. In fact, this season is a season that's going to be teaching us a lot in terms of the complexity and intricacy of the world of being a sorcerer. But people are not necessarily expecting that, and as such, they're going into the season with a sort of, well, I think I know what's gonna happen vibe. But the problem is, because people know what's gonna happen in the future and that allegation of Gege, they just kind of will downplay what will happen and just say, well, it doesn't really matter, because at the end you could start to feel that the story didn't really matter. And that's what they're gonna use against this anime. Within this season, there's a lot of very well written anime, but the problem is they'll never necessarily do the numbers of a Jujutsu Kaisen. Like for example, Oshinoko will come out, Golden Kamui will come out, Frieren will come out, and other anime will be out as well, which do have a better writing level. I'll just have to be honest about that. But the problem is they'll never match the numbers, and as such, how can individuals combat this popularity monster of Jujutsu Kaisen? Target the writing. And that's arguably what's going to be happening within the season. And what you'll notice is that even though the writing is really good within the season, it will consistently be downplayed. Because the truth is, people like shonen anime to a certain point. They don't want it to be a representation of the entire genre of anime. Shonen anime always have the capability of being the number one. But the problem is, we're at a point now where people just want to dismiss the popularity which an anime earns from being good by just saying that it's just watched by a bunch of children and people who are obsessed with fights. They don't think. And as such, within the world of anime, there's a divide that's happening. People want a new face or a better representation of the genre of anime. Because if someone were to tell you what is anime about and you just show them Jujutsu Kaisen, they might think that, oh, it's just about fighting, or you just like watching fighting. And that is the problem. People want better representation in terms of intelligence to kind of prove this sort of bias that's been pushed for a long time within anime, that it's basically for children. People try to justify watching anime by using intelligence. They want anime that kind of look smart and show that complexity, emotions, everything. But the problem is, when you have faces of anime being Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, kinda doesn't really help that narrative. Instead, it just pushes the fact that you just keep watching fights, that's all you love. That's not necessarily true. But the problem is, once a lie starts spinning, people don't really care too much about the details. And what most people find out is that once they actually watch these anime that are are seen as surface or not as good, they find that it has a lot of layers of complexity and thinking. But the problem is, how many people will genuinely take that time to watch that anime? Not that many people. Instead, they're just gonna believe what a lot of people say. Mainly because, again, within the world of anime, it's become this popularity battle versus this sort of artsy, intelligent sort of thing. Anime fans are always trying to divide themselves and figure themselves out. The problem is, if you tell someone that Jujutsu Kaisen is my favorite anime, out of all of the anime that's coming out this season, they'll see you as basic. But truthfully, it arguably is the best anime out there right now. But the problem is, it now brings into question your validity as an anime fan. Are you smart? Do you just like fights? Are you just a kid, basically? This is the battle that a lot of people are fighting, and as such they try to make it seem like they don't really like the basic things, when truthfully the same people who will judge Jujutsu Kaisen will watch it, but they won't say that they do or enjoy it as much, and as such the numbers will reflect it. But the truth is, when it comes time to judge the anime, people will act as if they don't watch it, people will act as if they don't care, or just blame the numbers, when truthfully the numbers do matter. Now they can be shifted, but in terms of Jujutsu Kaisen, it is a very good anime, and a lot of people will neutrally, or just people who like anime, will watch it. But then by the end of the season, it becomes this thing of saying, do you want to say the most popular anime of this season is your favorite anime? Wow, you're so special. No. And that is the biggest problem that Jujutsu Kaisen is going to have to face this season. It's got a lot of things going up against it, because it's got the new boys around the corner, and honestly, in terms of anime, they're always looking for a new king to crown. It always happens. Then on the other side, it's got the whole popularity and numbers agenda against it, and the fact that because it's a shonen, it must not have complex writing. It's not possible for it to have complex writing. In fact, some of the most biggest narratives being pushed against it is that Attack on Titan is better than Jujutsu Kaisen. Should that really matter because the anime is over? No. But they're going to use this against it. Why? Because Attack on Titan had the ability of having popularity and complexity. That is something that is rare, and that's fine, but that doesn't mean that you should dismiss the next generation or the next up and coming anime. But this is going to be used against Jujutsu Kaisen in a lot of conversations. This is the thing that I feel like this anime is going to have to deal with this season. It's going to have to show that it's deserving of the title that it's been given, because in terms of this season, even though critically Frieren is seen as better, it's going to have to validate its crown, and as such, it's going to be a messy battle, because it's not only up against these new really good anime, it's up against some familiar faces, but also a fan base in terms of the anime fan base that is a little uncomfortable with Jujutsu Kaisen being the #1, especially in terms of the battle within the anime fandom in itself. And as such, they're going to use anime like Jujutsu Kaisen and popular anime as a stepping stone to validate their opinions and their thoughts and their views. It's going to have to do such a good job that it overcomes all of these obstacles and still validates its crown. And arguably, I still think that even if it has an amazing season, all of these allegations are still going to be pushed until it reaches a certain point in which people will then validate that Gege was starting to make writing errors. And as such, the validity that this season built up in terms of writing will be diminished. But that's just plainly what I think about this anime and what's gonna happen this season, because it's already started.
Because I'm still waiting for you to click that like button and to subscribe and the post notification button.